Welcome back to episode 7 of the Big Leagues podcast. David Nizik here again. We just watched Fury versus Ngannou, a crazy event, big fight, and everyone, like most people, completely wrote off Ngannou, said he had no chance. Fury's the lineal champion, the WBC champion, came up off the canvas against Wilder, just superb skills, and Francis has no chance. That's what a lot of people thought. Francis gets a knockdown in round 3 and looks really good. Lasts the whole distance of the fight and loses a very controversial split decision. Like a lot of people thought that Ngannou won.
No.
Who did you think won, Isaac?
Well, first time watching it, I actually thought Ngannou won. I thought he did the majority of the damage. I thought he did the more significant damage, I should say. In round 3 and round 8, I think round 8, I think he had Fury hurt, and he kept clinching a lot, like towards the end of the round, and Ngannou just, hitting him with a lot of, clean connections, and like you said, in round 3, he dropped him. So when I first watched it, I thought that even though Tyson was probably outboxing him for majority of the fight, I thought Ngannou won. I would have given him split, but then after rewatching it and scoring it myself, I had Fury winning 95-94, I think. But it was a very, very close fight.
Very close. So my initial watching, I had it 5-5 going into the last round, and the last round was pretty uneventful, and I had no idea who won the fight. I had no clue. I figured it's boxing, all the money's on Fury, like they're setting up this big mega fight with Usyk, and boxing's so corrupt that Fury probably gets the decision, but it was razor thin. But I rewatched it and I scored it 95-94 Fury. The big knockdown for Ngannou, and then I gave Ngannou also round 2 and round 7 and round 8. Round 8 was a big round for Ngannou. And I mean, a lot of people are saying it's a robbery. I don't think it's a robbery. If you want to make a case for Ngannou, I think that's valid, but it was razor thin. And like if you throw the scorecards out and that's in the schoolyard, Francis Ngannou won the fight.
Yes, but I agree. And why like a lot of people are saying it's like such a controversial decision.
Mm-hmm.
Not just because he knocked him down, and I think he did like probably like the more significant damage for like his best strikes, but also I just think people like were doubting Ngannou so much. So like when he came out and surprised people were like so quick to like think he won and stuff. But like he surprised me. I thought it was gonna be like I thought he was gonna just get outclassed straight up. Mm-hmm. But I was really surprised like how good of like how much he learned boxing, and like he was, his jab was not bad, and he was really good at countering, and
some good body shots.
Yeah, no, he was working the body a lot too, which is something that impressed me too.
Like I'd also agree. I'm really big on Fury. I think Fury's so good, and I just didn't really think Ngannou's boxing skills would be technical enough to go with Fury, but he impressed me a lot too. And it kind of leaves a lot of questions for the heavyweight division. Like, if he sticks around in boxing and faces some of the other top guys, like, I'd really like to see him against Wilder personally.
Well, that'd be a crazy fight. I'd say probably like the two heaviest hitters in all combat sports right now. But it's actually gonna be really like cool to see if Ngannou like instead of going like fighting in PFL against, like, I know Fury was talking about maybe fighting him, but I don't think he'll end up doing that. Like, he's destroyed. But I think it'd be cool to see him stay in boxing, maybe, and like make some money fights with like Joshua or
how do you think a fight with Wilder would play out?
I'd probably lean Wilder KO, just first thoughts, but Wilder's one of my favorite fighters too, so I think Wilder's just got a lot more power than Fury. I think he's got just crazy power, but also he's not as good of a boxer as Fury, and Ngannou is like sticking in with them there. So I think it'd be a close fight. Like, it after last night, like, completely changed my opinion on what that fight would be like.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for me, I don't know exactly how that fight would play out, but I can say that it will be fireworks. Like those are two explosive punchers, and I'm pretty convinced it's probably. I'd be surprised if that went the distance, to be honest. Um, my initial lean, I think I would like lean Ngannou, but it's ever
Really?
so slight. I don't know. Fury Fury beat him twice, kind of convincingly. I just think Ngannou's a lot stronger, and I think he can kind of wear Wilder down the same way that Fury did. And I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if Wilder got the win, but I would probably slightly lean Ngannou in that one. And
Well, do you think Fury, after watching him like fight last night, do you think he's as good as he was when he fought Wilder? Like he looked to me,
well, the
yeah,
one
like
question with that is they got that mega fight set up with Usyk in December. So for Fury to make that quick turnaround, I almost wonder if maybe he was kind of holding back in some scenarios where he didn't want to risk that mega fight. I don't know. I don't want to take any. I don't want to like make excuses or take anything away from Ngannou, but that is something to question. But I would say that that was not like the best version of Fury I've ever seen, to be honest. But
well,
he is getting older. He's been in a lot of fights.
yeah, and he probably like underestimated, how good Ngannou
Definitely did, yeah.
and thought he could just, jab him and really just it'd be kind of an easier fight for him. But like Ngannou just shocked the world with like his performance. But
With that knockdown, like everyone that was watching that was going crazy.
yeah, I know. Like when we were watching that live, just watching that knockdown live, man, it was just so hype. Like if you're cheering for Ngannou.
Yeah. And then, so how do you think a Ngannou Joshua fight would play out? I'd like to see that too.
I'd probably favor Ngannou there against Josh because I don't really believe in Joshua all too much. I think he's juiced up. He can hit hard, but I think Ngannou's more juiced up and can hit harder. You know, I think honestly, like I don't think Joshua would do that good against Fury as Ngannou did. Like to be honest, I think Fury would like embarrass him. But
Yeah.
I think I'd lean Francis. Like
Yeah.
that's what would be your take?
So Joshua's got good boxing skills. I would say he's definitely a better technical boxer than Ngannou, but in my opinion, I just don't think Joshua like I don't think he has that like dog in him. I just think he's a little soft. I think like Francis fucking came from nothing. Like I just think that he just has no quit in him whatsoever, and he'll just dig deeper than Joshua. And I don't know like how I don't know if I trust Joshua's chin where I have complete faith in Francis's chin. So I don't know, I could see Ngannou getting a knockout in that one personally.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about like what about Wilder versus Joshua, and
Yeah,
I think there I definitely take Wilder.
me too. Easily.
That's a mismatch for for Joshua. I think that's a really good matchup for Wilder, but I think Ngannou against like each of them separately is like a more interesting fight, and like
Hmm.
I think they'd make for better. I think they make for like good close fights.
Yeah, I would like to see. They're working. I'm pretty sure they're working on Joshua Wilder. They're having some issues with it, like always happens in boxing.
Yeah.
But that's the fight that I would like to see, and then maybe give the put the winner up against Francis. Maybe like I
Yeah.
think that would be interesting. And then I guess we also should talk about Fury versus Usyk. So that is supposed to be in December. I don't know if that's for sure going to be in December. There are some discussions about that, but after seeing that Fury performance, I know we talked about this fight before, and you lean Fury. After that performance, you still think Fury gets the job done?
I'd still lean Fury just because, man, it's such a big like size advantage. He's
Yeah.
6'9" and he's what 275, 280.
Hmm.
But I think now I've lost like I have less confidence than I did 2 days ago talking about this fight. But I
Yeah.
think it's close, but I'd probably gun to my head, lean like Fury by decision. If I had to, make a prediction, what would be what are you thinking now?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I always thought that Fury would win that fight. I mean, like you mentioned, he's 6'9", Usyka's 6'3". I just think he's so much bigger that he could like lean on him, wear him down, box him, and I don't really see him finishing Usyk, but I think he could get a decision. But I don't know, that version of Fury, Usyk can box. Like, he is a really good technical boxer. He's phenomenal. I don't know. I honestly don't even know how. I guess I'd have to give it to Fury just because I've been backing him this whole time. But man, I really want to see it. I really hope that gets done and we don't have to wait too much longer.
Well, like it's gonna be a crazy turnaround though, like just having like this big fight against Francis in, October, and then fighting, probably the second best boxer in the world behind himself, like 2 months later. Like, I mean, I'm sure he's already been like preparing for him and like, but I think it's gonna be probably the toughest task of Fury's career to beat Usyk. I think it's gonna be a really tough.
If he gets that win, I mean, it's hard to really rank like greatest heavyweights all time, but I mean, if he gets that win against Usyk, he's got to start getting into that discussion. Like, obviously not the greatest, but he's got to be on the top 10 or whatever list if he gets that win, in my opinion.
But he's like if he were to beat Usyk, he'd have like a great. I'd say Deontay Wilder's probably a top two knockout artist of all time in heavyweight boxing, and
Beat
he
him
just
twice and drew him once.
in the draw. He still probably should have won, but the two knockdowns kind of swayed it to a draw. But I
Yeah.
think he's never lost. He's never really had too many close fights. I think he's got to be up in there in the mix. Like if he came out and knocked out Usyk, I think he's got to be, at least his name's got to be in the conversation. I'd say.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, I would say. Some other, you got any other things to add on that?
No, I think I'm excited. Think the heavyweights boxing's in a pretty good, some
Yeah.
good fun, hoping to see.
Yeah, I'm hoping they get made.
Yeah.
More news and more news while we're talking about heavyweights. John Jones had to pull out of his fight.
Yeah.
Just really disappointing. I was looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah. I'm wondering now in 8 months' time. I know he's going to be out for then, so probably like a year's time till he be, looking at another fight. Do you think they'll still try to go him and Stipe? Because
So Dana did a press conference, and he said like, because Stipe is getting pretty old too,
yeah,
and he said that they're gonna like redo that fight, even though they are having an interim title fight in place of the John Jones Stipe fight. But he said like those guys like Stipe and John are just such legends of the game that when they come back, that fight's getting made because it's such a big fight.
yeah. I think well, and I'm pretty sure John was like definitely going to retire after the fight, but a fight I'd really love to see, and uh they were talking about it on Joe Rogan's podcast. Francis was saying like they were talking on the
Yeah,
podcast. Joe asked him like if PFL would let him like come to the UFC to fight, and then he was saying PFL would be down, but like the only thing that'd be the problem is Dana would not like let
yeah,
Ngannou like become the heavyweight champ. So, but
yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of obstacles for that to get done, but
well, I don't think it done. I don't think we'll ever see, which is a shame
it
because
is.
like
In a
I
theoretical world, who would you pick in that?
us like there's no man on this world I'm picking against John Jones personally. I just think he's just the most complete fighter, just dominant. I know Francis got crazy power, and he's a pretty well-rounded MMA fighter, but I just think John's wrestling,
Yeah,
grappling, submissions, I just think it'd be too much, and I'd probably give John Jones by submission if I had to put a bet out there.
I would. I mean, like obviously dependent on how he comes back from this injury, like that goes without saying. But I think if I think John would use his wrestling, and he would just use that to
Yeah.
to counteract what Francis can do on the feet.
Yeah. Would you rather see John versus Ngannou or John versus Stipe if you can only get one?
Oh, John versus Ngannou.
Yeah. Just had to make it like that. Just be. I'd say that's probably
That would
probably the one I'd want to see the most.
yeah, that'd be one of like the biggest fights you could make in combat sports. Like not just the heart, like all fans would watch that. Like everyone would be tuned into that. It would do huge numbers.
Everybody was like praying for that one. There was actually like discussions going on, but
yeah,
it's France. Well, like I guess it worked out for France. You know, he just got paid like a bag to fight, and but he wanted. I'm pretty sure like the thing that was kind of he wanted like UFC fighters to get like benefits, and like he was like arguing for that, and Dane was just not having any of it, I guess.
Yeah, they had some issues with the contract negotiations, but good for Francis to get his money, and
Yeah.
hopefully he can give us some more big boxing fights in the future.
Like would you rather see him stay in boxing and go back to MMA? Would you think?
I'd rather see him fight another big time boxer. Like even if you couldn't do Wilder or Joshua, like I'd like to see like Ruiz or even another heavyweight guy within the kind of 4 to 8 range. I'd rather see that than him fight some heavyweight in the PFL that no one's ever heard of.
Yeah. And like no one in the PFL would be able to touch him. Like he just
No.
I'm not too familiar with like their fighters, but you know, he the best heavyweight in the UFC when he was there, and didn't look like he's lost a step against Fury in the striking department.
Any other thoughts to add about boxing or UFC?
No, not what you I think covered, you know, some good fights.
Yeah. Well, we'll wrap the episode up there. Had to give a reaction to that big fight, controversial decision. Yeah.